So one of the biggest challenges that we have in talking to people about their business ideas is usually people come up with what the technology is that they're going to do. They think about, I've invented a new form of electricity, or my business is going to be a website or something like that. And what we really want to do, especially in the case of startups, is get you focused as early as possible on a specific customer, a specific situation. Basically, we want to know, who are you going to go sell this to next week, the minute that you launch. How you go about doing that really depends on where you started with your business idea. In your ideal world, what's happened is you've been walking along the street during your regular life and you've noticed there's a crying need for something, there's a problem. In those cases, it's fairly clear. In a lot of cases, though, people, when they're thinking about starting an idea or a product or service, they start with what they're good at. So I'm a clothes designer, or I know how to program websites and stuff like that. Then it's a little bit more of a challenge. You have to figure out, okay, given what I can provide, who has the biggest need? So a good example is mobile phones. When mobile phones first came out, the people who developed the technology, especially if they were a big, huge box, they said, who really and absolutely has a huge need for this, especially since it's expensive. So I believe the first users were sort of petroleum geologists out in the field who needed to communicate information that was highly valuable. People didn't think of high school students texting each other as the initial market. So start with your technology and say, given what this can do, who can use this the most? So I want to talk about a tool for getting you really focused down to the concrete situation that you're going to address with your business. And it's something that we've borrowed from Geoffrey Moore, who wrote a book, Crossing the Chasm, which we highly recommend. It's called the Value Triad. And the idea behind the triad is that it takes three basic parts to create value or create meaning in a business. First thing is you have to have a specific customer in mind. People talk about the car market, etc. We want you to think about a specific driver, whether they're a Ferrari driver or a Volkswagen driver or what have you, and have that person in mind. People at first tend to get very conceptual, analytical about their business ideas. The reality is, you're not going to have a business until you're able to make a sale. And you're not going to have a sale until you produce a product that somebody wants to buy. And the only way you can do that is by knowing who specifically you're going to call. Even if you think your product's for a big corporation, at the end of the day, it's going to be a specific person in a specific department with a specific budget that wants to get promoted for a reason or wants to avoid getting fired for a reason. That's your specific customer that you're going to buy and sell to. Nevertheless, if you think about different markets, let's talk about the restaurant market. You can have somebody specifically in mind, but whether they're a customer for your service is different at different times. If I'm Little Chef, the who isn't just going to be somebody who's hungry, but it's specifically somebody who's hungry while driving along a motorway on the way back home. They just want to have a quick meal. If you're a very expensive restaurant in London, then the who is somebody who's looking for a nice, entertaining night out, perhaps on a date or some key business context or something like that. This is where I've often said that business is like applied anthropologist. You have to get to know those customers, figure out what their routines are, their habits, their problems, what are they trying to do, to figure out when do they need this the most. So I, for example, might be saying, I think we need restaurants along the motorway or something like that. Then maybe I need to take a few motorway trips myself, get an idea, am I targeting truck drivers? When does a truck driver want to stop for a rest and eat? What kind of food do they want? When does a family want to stop for a rest? What do they need? What kind of food do they want? So when you think about your business, the first thing we want you to think about is who are you targeting, but also we want you to think about the situation that they're in. And if you combine the who with the situation, that is what creates a market. If we think of a market as a specific need, a problem out there that needs a solution. And the solution is going to be your product or service. So if you have somebody driving along the motorway who needs to have a quick meal that's maybe child-friendly or something like that, that's a market. Value is created when you put up a restaurant right by the motorway that's clearly signaled at a reasonable price, that's fast, where they can get exactly what they need. You've created value. You have a business. The other thing that's nice about this model is you have to come up in the end with three parts, but you can actually start anywhere you like. The beauty of this tool is that where we all come up with loose concepts initially, you can use this tool to really make sure that your idea is concrete enough and clear enough that it's something you can actually act on as you start planning and building your business. Most of the facts that people are given in higher education right now are going to be obsolete within 5 or 10 years. There's still a point to university education because it teaches you a certain rigor about how you think about problems, how you research them, and how you in turn communicate your findings that will serve you well no matter what you have to relearn in the future as the specifics of knowledge change. The whole idea of entrepreneurship skills is very much the same. The business you're thinking of building right now may be obsolete or may not be one that you end up starting. Even if you do start it, you're going to have to change your strategy after a while. We want to give you a robust, almost generic and versatile toolkit, such as the value triad, strategy mapping, that you can almost go into any situation and go, these are the 3, 4, or 5 fundamental questions that I need to think about. And if I can do that, I'm going to have a good idea whether this is a good business idea. If not, how can I improve it? How do I launch it? How do I implement it?